All right, everyone. Welcome and good evening to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we are here at Road America, and we've got a 36 lap race. I say don't let the lap number fool you, because this is a very long 4-mile track. Very difficult track as well to get around, so these drivers are going to have their hands full tonight. Right now, putting down qualifying laps. A longer qualifying session tonight, of course, because of just the outright length of this track. So instead of our typical 5-minute qualifying, going to be 10 minutes here tonight. And so I'll say going over obviously our info for this evening, 68 degrees ambient, however, track temperature 110 degrees. And I'll say, so it's going to be pretty decent, I think, track conditions, maybe a little on the warm side for the drivers. But I think the big thing is going to be going into the race here. It's going to be all about pit strategy, because the fuel number is going to be right on the edge of a 3-stop race. From everything I was talking to some of the drivers, I think that you're going to have to make a 3-stop race with the very outside possibility of having to maybe take a splash of a 4th stop, or maybe having to do a little bit of fuel savings in that. So before we get too far along, though, we're going to switch over now, and we're going to hop on board with our partner in crime, and that is Steve Gottschalk, as he's coming out of the final turn. And we're going to kind of go around the track here and kind of give you some ideas of what to expect here tonight. You see Steve heading up the front stretch here. Big uphill climb there as you start heading into turn number 1. And I'd say it's a very, very heavy braking zone for this first little section right here. Say you'll see as he hits the brakes here. Say we're not going to be doing full send laps or anything like that. But as you can see, then this little section, this is actually considered a turn. This brings you into turn number 3, a little sharper than turn 1 here, and exit speed very crucial, because that's going to send you to this very long backstretch, which is going to actually start heading downhill into one of the most difficult turns in turn number 5, a very sharp downhill angle turn here. And a very trouble spot will be getting on the throttle too soon, because it's easy to step out there as they come up to the bridge here. We have a blind left-hander here for turn number 6, and that's going to bring him back onto the short straightaway. A little kink here for turn number 7. You can just barely breathe it if you can hit it quite right. And then another very sharp turn here coming up to turn number 8 here. And that's going to start leading into the carousel turns 9 and 10 under the bridge right there. You see, as this is where you have to figure out how do you want to run this carousel here as you go through it. And same thing, you want to get a good exit off the carousel, because now you're going to be heading full send into the kink, which is turn 11 right here. Say same thing, flat to the floor, and then you're going down a little kink down the backstretch here before you hit Canada corner, turn number 12. Another very, very hard braking zone here as well. As you can see, Steve hitting that right there. And same thing here, you gotta be very careful on throttle. And that comes out of Thunder Valley into turn number 13, just a little left-hand kink. And then, of course, down now into turn number 14 to get you set up for the long front straightaway. And again, say exit gonna be crucial here. And say you see a lot of opportunities for these drivers to use those 10 push-to passes as well. I say there's going to be a lot of straightaway room for us. So I say that's a lap around Road America. I say it's going to be a challenging one for these drivers here tonight, but that was the lap around the track. And I say it's going to be, I think, everything these drivers have to keep this thing on the track here tonight.
A fairly technical track. The turns that I had the hardest time with are this one that I'm just going through. For some reason, it doesn't look that tight, but it's extremely tight when you actually get there, and it's easy to mess that one up and run off into the grass and hit the wall. The downhill left-hander at the end of this is not bad, because you can see it coming. You have plenty of time to prepare for it. You just have to hit your braking point right. The next tricky turn for me is, are you still focused on me? Because I
Yes,
can
sir.
show it.
Yep, we're watching here go under the cheese bridge. I'll say Sargento putting in some big bucks there to get their branding on top of that bridge there as they come, like I said, come down into that not hairpin, but that turn 5, like I said, pretty much a 90-degree turn almost. Like I said, but like I said, you can see it coming, and that's where you really are able to see the corner, but just nail our braking spot. But I say I have a feeling it's gonna be this turn 6, this blind turn as you kind of crest over the hill. Very easy to lose the back end of that car as you get on the brakes there, because as you're going from uphill to flat right on the braking zone, very easy to upset the car there.
Yep. This one I never really figured out like how fast I could go through it, but it's a very fast right-hander. And then this one again, you have plenty of time to prepare for, but it's a first gear turn.
Yeah, and same thing. It's pretty much almost an exact 90-degree turn there as well. And then that obviously leads you into the carousel here, and then this one as well, Steve. So there's a lot of different ways you can take this turn. So you can kind of wash in early, kind of swing out, and then get the late apex off the exit. So you'll see a lot of different ways the drivers are going to be taking these turns here tonight as well. Then of course as you come through this back section right here as well. I say here it's pretty straightforward. You say you're just going to be foot to the floor all the way until same thing. Another heavy braking point at Canada Corner, turn number 12. I say that's another one where I think just drivers have to really kind of nail their braking points here. A lot of spots, like I said, a lot of overtaking opportunities on these long straightaways. And I say it's going to be very tempting to really get aggressive on that push to pass.
For some reason on this last turn, I kept screwing up on the braking point. It looks like the turn is coming sooner than it actually does.
Yep. Yeah, it's got that little bit, you're right though, Steve. I say it's got that little bit of a kink out before you really have to cut it back in. And actually the other thing we got to mention here is pit road. I say as you're coming right to it, is you can see the pit entry very tricky here as well, because you've got just, again, a super long straightaway. It's so tempting just to be super aggressive on the pits, but it says you come just over the crest of this bridge here, you're going to see the pit speed limiter right there at that yellow cone. So you got to really make sure you're down, because it's a very slow pit lane. So there's going to be a little bit of everything for these drivers here tonight, and also going to be a slightly shorter field than we're used to seeing. I know a couple of our drivers had some prior commitments that they had to take care of tonight. Saying I know at least one driver power outage at his location, unfortunately not able to make it. I believe that was Josh Laston, if I'm not mistaken. So I say honestly though, this could be a great opportunity for some drivers. Might be able to get them a podium that they haven't been able to get before. But of course, you're still going to have some really solid heavy hitters like Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus. The one I'm going to be watching tonight is going to be Nick DeGroot. We've seen how good he's been all season long. But I say road courses haven't really been his forte, but he does have his teammate here, Covey Moore, a bit of a road course ringer himself in that 98 car. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see. And actually, right now, Steve, also watching exit the pit road here. Also very dangerous potential pit merge here, because I say if you come out in front of a car, I say they're going to be coming with a huge head of steam while you're just building up speed into that turn number 1.
Yeah, and you definitely have to be very careful to keep it as far to the right as you can.
Yeah, exactly right.
Something else I noticed in practice, if you do get off in the grass, it's almost impossible to avoid sliding into the wall.
Yes, and that's going to be crucial for these drivers. Obviously, they do have that one fast repair. They'll want to use it wisely. Ideally, obviously, not use it at all. The other thing, of course, risk versus reward too here, Steve. I mean, you can be aggressive, try to get a great results for the finishing tonight, but at the same time, if you can keep that car clean on track, there's some bonus points to have to be had for no incident points. So that's another thing that these drivers might have to kind of bounce around to see how they want to balance their aggression versus maybe trying to be just a little more cautious to just give themselves. Because I mean, let's say you lose a spot or two. Just by being a little bit more cautious, but you get those 3 bonus points, that offsets that loss of points. So a lot of strategy could be coming out here as well, to just kind of different mindsets of these drivers, I feel like, tonight.
I want to say one thing about the carousel. It reminds me a lot of turn 1 at Lime Rock, and I drove there in real life and had driver schools there. And on that kind of turn where it's a long sweeping 180-degree turn, they taught us to double apex it. So you hit the inside of the track going in, you let the car drift out to the outside around the middle of the turn, and then you hit the inside coming off, which actually gives you a lot more speed down the straightaway that goes into. So I think double apex is probably the best way around that turn.
Yeah, that's a very good possibility. So say with that, qualifying just has completed here, and say actually looks like it's going to be a pretty short pace lap. Looks like they're able to actually grid right before the last turn here. So that's going to be great news. If we talk about the pit strategy, that could be a huge benefit for these guys. So let's say we'll pull up our starting grid here. Matt Wagner going to get the pole over Eric Schaus by just over a tenth and a half. Then you've got Jim Herrick there in third, Scott Rankin in fourth, Craig Forsyth top 5 there with his run, Jeff Heisong, Covey Moore, Nick DeGroot. Then you got Yari Brupacher, Jim Brooks in 10th, Carl Henderson 11th, Michael Spell in 12th. The remainder of the grid here, you've got Thaddeus Mcmurray in the 14th position. Obviously, he'll cycle to 13th. Unless Steve's going to abandon me here. Don't think he's going to be running any qualifying or any race laps tonight. However, I say, knowing Steve, he'd have a pretty good chance of a top 10, even if he didn't have a lot of practice time just to hop in there. So, yes, I'll say just a little bit here until the grid kicks off. And again, all about strategy. I feel like think that's going to be the name of the game tonight. It's going to be the fuel strategy, tire strategy, of course, as well. Do need to mention these drivers need to use both sets of tires. You're going to have to use the primary black tires, the alternate red tires. So we should see both sets of tires on each car throughout the course of the race. And then, of course, the other part of this as well is going to be those 10 push-to-passes. And right now, looking at our starting grid, obviously we mentioned Matt Wagner on pole position here. However, in the 4th position, Scott Rankin, he is the first car to take the alternate black. So you see him there in the 156, and I believe that's Jeff Heisong in the 18 car, alternate blacks for those two. But they are surrounded by a lot of red tires here up front. So it's going to be a pretty quick kickoff here before getting back to green. So let's say we're going to let these guys get rolled in here. And again, 36 laps is the race distance. Doesn't seem like a lot, but again, 4-mile track here tonight at Road America. As the pace car ducks in, it's going to hand it over to Matt Wagner. And he's going to wait for that green flag to fly, and then we will be underway. Everybody's lined up nicely here, and green flag is out. We are underway here. 36 laps here tonight at Road America. As the field heads into turn number 1, you see everybody going to try and jockey for a position, see who's able to get the run. Eric Schaus, a great entry here into turn number 1. He's actually going to jump around that 11 of Matt Wagner. So it's going to be Eric Schaus taking the point here. We have actually, I think, Nick DeGroot off as he's looping it back around. That's going to unfortunately drop him way back on position. I think also trying to see who else went off with him there. So we'll go back, try to take a quick look at it here with that 89 machine. Oh, he got into the back. I believe that was the 18 of Jeff Heisong it was. So both those cars having contact. We'll jump back live now. Let's say with all of that going on. So right now, though, Eric Schaus continues to lead here. However, we've got to change for second place now. We've got Jim Herrick, who's taken over that second position. Matt Wagner right now holding very tight here on that third position because he's got Covey Moore hot on his heels here as they head into heading into the carousel here for the first time tonight. And as they moving around, just trying to keep an eye on where everybody is on track right here. I believe Thaddeus Mcmurray, he's had a moment. Oh, you see Nick DeGroot just sneak on by there. There's Thaddeus here. He's going to loop it back around. Again, mentioned one of the more difficult parts of the track here. But he's going to grab a gear. Looks like he should be okay. Car looks to be in pretty good shape. And we're going to keep jumping around because I see Scott Rankin, Craig Forsyth. Oh, a little bit of connection issue, but it looks like a good battle here in Canada's corner. They have not quite figured out who's going to take the spot. Do need to mention, though, Covey Moore around Matt Wagner moves Covey up into third. However, out of the final turn, Eric Schaus is going to lead lap number 1. As you can see, he's also looks like trying to break the track right off the bat here. As you can see in the distance, there's Jim Herrick, Covey Moore, Matt Wagner, and then Craig Forsyth, our top 5. Early mover, though, for sure, is going to be Covey Moore, plus 4 spots on that opening lap.
You know, Kyle, we were talking about fuel mileage during practice, and you mentioned to me that if someone was able to go 10 laps on one of these segments, they would be able to take one less pit stop to somebody that was only able to make 9 laps. And I'm wondering if that's what Matt is up to right now. If he's just, changed his engine mapping or something, and is trying to make that 10 laps on the first segment.
Yeah, I think it's a very good possibility, Steve. I'll say for him to try to stretch his first run right now. I'll say because now things have finally settled in just a little bit for most of the field. You got a couple of groups within about a second or so of one another. So I didn't mention Jeff Heisong did have to pit. He's rolling out of pit road right now. So the one thing that Jeff has going for me is obviously way off pace now with the leaders here, but this would put him in the window to make it on 3 more stops. Kind of consider this one just a quick little splash, if you will. So say at least on the strategy side, he's not too far off of it, but obviously not the start he was looking for. But we're going to jump back up because actually you've got Matt Wagner now under heavy pressure here from the Craig Forsyth. And like you mentioned though, Steve, I see even if he's trying to save fuel here, he's got to make sure he doesn't lose too much track position. Because I mean, he's already down about 4 seconds off our race leader here, Eric Schaus. So, and you know Eric is one of those drivers who is a master fuel saver. So, I wouldn't let Eric sneak away too far here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, you can't get to the point where you lose so much time to the leader that that's the cost of the extra pit stop, and you've gained nothing by all that saving.
Yeah, exactly right. I say right now, still close battle between the two of these guys. As last time by Craig Forsyth, fastest car on the track, chasing down that number 11. So say as they said, they're going to head down into that the downhill section here into turn number 5, I believe it is. So I do need to mention also, though, Nick DeGroot was able to get around Carl Henderson, put himself back in the top 10 right now. Let's say we'll run through the field here a little bit as the race kind of continues to unfold. But yeah, right now keeping in mind this really close battle here for that 4th position between Matt and Craig.
You know, I'm sorry that Josh isn't here tonight, Josh Laston, because I owed him some crap from Sunday night broadcast.
Yeah, I think Josh was claiming that he had a power outage. I think it was actually just the fear of Steve in the booth was actually why he didn't make it tonight. As you can see right there, Craig gets right on the back wing though here of Matt Wagner through the carousel. Again, talk about different ways you can take that turn, and Craig is all over this 11 car as they come through the little kink here. Now does Craig consider using the push to pass? He does not as of yet. He's going to duck inside here. He'll have the inside line heading into Canada corner, and it looks like Matt's going to roll out early. Craig's going to take over that 4th spot.
Yeah, I saw Matt key up. I'm sure he was just letting Craig go.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows how important those exits are, though. So we're going to jump over to Covey Moore, though, now, because now he's starting to put the pressure on Jim Herrick. This is a battle for that 2nd position. And right now, again, surprisingly, Steve, nobody's used the push to pass as of yet. Everybody's really saving them here. But again, that could be a fuel strategy because, of course, using the extra power on that push to pass button going to burn a little bit of extra fuel, so it might make these drivers a little gun-shy to have to use that.
Yeah, and I think that would definitely be my strategy if I was out there racing this.
So now to see again on the strategy, is Covey Moore maybe just doing some fuel strategy, just trying to save off the back of this 40 of Jim Herrick. The thing is, again, I say the longer he fights Jim here, the longer Eric's going to have to sneak away. And I'm saying this might be, again, Eric, maybe he can hustle the car early, and in the second half of this fuel run, start to back it down a little bit. But as crazy as it is to say that, again, the fuel window here, again, around 9 to 10 laps, so we're almost already halfway into the fuel run. So I say a lot is going to change over the course of this race, and of course over this first fuel run as well.
You know who was in that broadcast booth on Sunday and was very quiet on Facebook. Didn't say a peep, at least last night. But I noticed he's here. He had the courage to show up tonight, and that's Carl Henderson. So I want to give a shout out to Carl, who is he's back there in 10th place.
Yeah, he's up to 9 plus 2 from a starting position here. So I'll say a good solid opening stint for, again, a very difficult track. As I do need to mention, actually, looks like a couple of drivers having some trouble. Michael Spell, he had to hit pit road a little early. Jim Brooks actually had to take a tow. He's down back into the pits as well. And actually looking here, I think Covey Moore may have had a moment, Steve. Oh, he's got left front suspension damage. He's going to have to try to limp this car back to pit road. I think he's going to do so without having to take a fast car. We'll go back and try to see what happened to Covey here. That's definitely a huge disappointment for Covey. We're going to go back and try to see if we can find where it happened. I believe going into Canada corner here, there was definitely a pass attempt by that number 98 on the 40. And we'll see. It looks like maybe contact between the two of them. And yeah, indeed it is. You see Covey getting into the side of Jim Herrick there. So contact between those two. And so I believe that's where the damage was to his car. And then same thing for Jim, has to wait now to try to loop his car back around here. Damage not as bad to Jim's car, although he is also on pit road. But unfortunately, I'd say not what those two are looking for. I'd say that's where Covey's having to try to limp that thing back to pit road with his damage. So that's going to give, again, more breathing room to Eric Schaus, but it's also now going to promote Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner back up into the top 3.
And Covey's one of our better road course racers, so that was an uncommon mistake that he made right there.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this is one of those tracks, again, these braking zones, they're just, you have such little room for error, and so I think that was exactly what it was. Just gotten a little bit too hot, maybe kind of guessed wrong on if he thought Jim Herrick was going to let him by or not, and unfortunately those two met in the middle. So let's say obviously a tough break for both of those drivers. Let's say it's going to probably put him out of podium contention, but I say it's hard to say too early on that one yet, because you never know with the way these races go. But again, the driver I'm going to be watching now here, Steve, though, Scott Rankin, he was one of the only drivers up front to start on the primary black tires versus the alternate reds. And so you wonder if maybe those reds are going to start to burn off a little bit, and this might be Scott's opportunity to try to close that gap on these guys up front.
So do we have a rule in this league this week that they have to use one set of each tires?
That is correct, yeah. But everybody needs to use both set of tires, so pretty much for Scott, after this run, if he goes to the alternate reds, he can run whatever he wants to the end. For the drivers that start on the reds, if they go to the black, same thing. The next stops, they can choose whatever they want. However, like I said, they do have to use at least one set of each throughout the course of the race here. So, for example, Eric Schaus started on the reds. If he goes reds on both of his stops here, so that would wind up being a penalty for that 72 car. So these drivers have to make sure that they are aware of that as they go on with this race. But yeah, right now things holding pretty steady up front. Say the margins are looking pretty similar. Top 3 drivers actually, Steve, last time by, I say almost 2-minute laps here with minute 47, but it was a 42 for Schaus, a 50 for Craig, and a 49 for Matt Wagner. Those 3 drivers separated only by 0.08 of a second. Just again shows the level of skill that those 3 drivers have right now. Just really nailing these laps right here.
So they've slowed down significantly from what they were able to run for fast laps.
Yeah, about a 2-second drop off almost. So that's something interesting too, is tire wear might be a little bit more important than the fuel wear, because that's usually we see kind of the offset of fuel versus tires. So that is a great point to kind of keep an eye on that as well. But we're going to jump back over to Scott Rankin because he's putting the pressure back on Matt Wagner. And I'm looking at Scott's laps, and so again, he's in the, I wouldn't say traffic, but I mean, he's having to try to find a way to get around that 11 car. And I mean, he's running lap times right with these guys on the primary black. So this long run for this 156 car, this might be an idea for these guys to say. He shows that he's going to have long run pace still.
Sort of makes me wonder if Matt had been planning to try and make the 10 laps on this first run, whether he should have started on the black tires rather than the red ones.
I was thinking the same thing, Steve. I think probably what he was going for was that pole position, which he did wind up getting. I believe a bonus point or 2 for that as well. But yeah, right now these guys put in some great times. Like I said, actually Eric Schaus put in a pretty blistering lap at 47.28. And do need to mention though, Nick DeGroot, he's worked his way back up into 6th. He ran a 47.31, so Nick, had a little mistake early, but he's definitely got pace in that 89 car as well. Again, winner of the first 3 races of the season going into tonight, so definitely wants to try to see if he can keep that points lead pad as much as he can going throughout the rest of the season here.
Yeah, he did kind of warn us last week that he was not a ace road course racer, but it sounds like he's putting down some pretty decent laps despite that.
Yeah, as we talk about that, driver that's going to definitely be on the charge right now. We'll switch over to him. Had the unscheduled pit stop with the contact with the 40. That's Covey Morris. He just ran the fastest lap of a race, 45.46, almost 2 seconds of a lap faster than our race leader Eric Schaus. He pitted about 4 laps ago in that number, actually 3 laps ago in that 98 car. So it shows again the speed that he has. But then also, of course, those fresh tires definitely playing a big role as well.
It's a frustrating place to be in, though, because, you run as fast as you can. You're still on the lead lap. There's never going to be any cautions that let you close up. So, you're just hoping that because you're going to be on the same pit stop strategy as a bunch of other guys, if you can make up enough time, then maybe you'll gain some spots. Or, by other people making mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, Thaddeus Mcmurray saw him entering the pits there. A little bit of a mistake. It looks like he's having to limp that car to the pits. But we're going to jump back again and keep an eye on this battle of Matt Wagner, Scott Rankin. Actually, before we get to the pit stops, let's run through the field here. So right now, our race leader is Eric Schaus in that 72. Pretty much took the lead over in turn 1, lap 1, and has yet to look back, building up almost a 6-second lead now over Craig Forsyth. Craig, a 3-spot gain from his starting position. So he's definitely been showing pace in that car as well. And then Scott Rankin, actually, you may need to mention, he's gotten around Matt Wagner in those primary black tires. So Scott now moving up into 3rd, puts Matt Wagner back into the 4th position. And then haven't talked about him, but right now our highest climber, Jari Brupacher, he is up into that 5th spot, 4 positions gained for him. And then Nick DeGroot here in 6th, I'll say just a couple seconds back off of him. And then say a little ways back is Carl Henderson in the 7th position, but also 4 positions gained from his starting spot. Now, as we mentioned, some drivers that had some early troubles. Covey Moore, he is in 8th. Jeff Heisong as well in the 9th position. And then rounding out our top 10 is the number 51, Jim Brooks. Had to take a tow earlier, is a lap down at the moment, but still in the top 10. And then the other couple of drivers we had mentioned, Thaddeus Mcmurray just hit pit road. He's back out on track. Michael Spell as well. Unfortunately, looks like Jim Herrick has retired from tonight's event. So right now those are our drivers still on track. Our 12 drivers remaining, 9 of those on the lead lap. And saying again, Scott Rankin, here he comes, Steve. He's now closing the gap on Craig Forsyth. This time by, he was almost 2 seconds, I should say, quicker than Eric Schaus. Maybe Eric, going. We talked about the fuel saving mode. Maybe Eric's trying to stay fuel because we are on lap 9. So these guys are trying to stretch it here to lap number 10, like we talked about. This might be that fuel save lap, or the fuel save stint that we talked about before we started this race.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see who pits this lap and who doesn't.
Yeah, so this is going to be the big one, I think, is who has to pit here coming to 10, who can maybe stretch it to 11. It's like I said, I think Matt Wagner is definitely one of those drivers, like you mentioned, Steve. We kind of feel like that might be what his plan is. But the other thing for Eric Schaus, though, is you see he's actually having to work over a little bit of traffic here. He's got Michael Spell. Oh, Michael overshoots that turn just a little bit, probably trying to give too much room. But now Craig's got to be careful because as he exits the turn, you're going to see that 88 car come right back out on track, but able to do so nice and clean. So it looks like a non-issue there. I'll say Craig's going to have to try to get a good exit out of the carousel. He gets around the 88, as does the 156. But I think the 156 got a better run out there because he's definitely closing the gap here down the back.
I'm watching Carl Henderson in 7th, and he had a moment there where he went off in the grass. Thankfully, didn't hit anything. Went across the track, went out into the grass on the other side. Still didn't hit anything, and he's back going again.
So if you can go off track and not hit things, you've done something good here. And yep, here comes Eric Schaus. He's going to be the first of our leaders to hit pit road here, coming to lap number 10. So we'll see how it goes as he slows down for his pit stop. Here comes Craig Forsyth as well. But look at this, Steve. Scott Rankin, he's going to stretch it one more lap. Even Matt Wagner, Jari Brupacher, they're all in. If Scott can stretch this fuel run here and make it this next lap without sputtering or anything like that, this 156 car is going to be looking very strong the remainder of this race, because then he should be able to be pretty aggressive the rest of the way.
If he's managed to stretch it the same as Matt Wagner has, that's lost 14 seconds to him, then that was way too conservative with his fuel.
Well, that's what's interesting. Actually, Matt Wagner's already in pit road as well here. Did you mention Eric Schaus back out? He is on the primary black tires, as is Craig Forsyth, so they are good to go to the regulations on the tires. Matt Wagner, he is still on the alternate red, so he's going to still have to use that set or switch to the blacks there. And as I said, here comes Covey Moore. Again, off sequence right now with these guys, but he's going to cycle out right now in the 5th spot. And then let's say drivers that just pitted there as well. Jari Brupacher, he is in as well and out with the reds. Nick DeGroot out with the primary black tires. So 2 drivers, Steve, that have been able to run the field numbers a little longer. Knock on wood, of course, got to make it all the way around a 4-mile track here. But it's going to be Scott Rankin in the 156 and Carl Henderson also stretching his fuel out in that 42 machine. So we'll see if these guys, again, because this should put him in that position to be a little more aggressive the remainder of the race.
So I was unfortunately back a ways on my replay mode. So Matt didn't make the 10 laps.
He pitted coming to 10 along with Eric and Craig and all those guys. So yeah, so right now these guys are all on those guys are all in the same strategy right now. The only front runner to go this extra lap here, and as they say that, here comes Scott Rankin coming out of the last turn, hitting pit road now. It looks like fuel's going to be not an issue for this 156 car. He is in pit road, so great fuel savings on this first run and on the primary black tires as well, Steve, because now he can probably be a little more aggressive on fuel, and he can also run the alternate reds here the remainder of the race should he chooses to.
Yeah, definitely. I think this really puts him in the catbird seat for the rest of this race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see where he comes out in relation, because you can see here comes Eric Schaus already swinging on by. He's going to take the lead over before Scott even hits pit road here. So maybe Scott had to do a lot of fuel save on the last pit stop. So we'll watch and see where he comes out, because Craig Forsyth already down and away. Matt Wagner now passing. Covey Moore coming by. So he's going to come out in the 6th spot behind Jari Brupacher. There goes Jari right there going on around him. So he's going to drop a fair bit here to our race leader. But again, oh, actually, is he? Something happened there. Almost like the car just, I don't know if it was like the throttle stuck or something here. Oh, that's just a heartbreaker there for Scott. Not sure what happened there, so he's going to try to get it back out on track here. But unfortunately, all the good work he's done on that first stint is pretty much going to get undone here right on that pit exit.
You know, I'm thinking that maybe he realized that he had lost too much time on that last lap and was focused on trying to gain as much as he could to make up for that extra pit stop he wasn't going to have to take. Or, you know, hopefully everybody knows what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think he just probably lost focus there and went too fast through the turn, and next thing you know, he's off in the grass and hit the wall.
Yeah, that's a huge disappointment for Scott. He was looking really good there. So that leaves now Carl Henderson as the only driver to stretch that 10 laps there. Pitting coming to lap 11. So Carl should be in a good spot now as well to run it to the rest of the way without any troubles here. That's going to completely change the strategy up front here. And I mean, right now, Steve, if you're Eric Schaus, you're pretty happy with life, I feel like, because you've got about an 8.5 second lead over Craig Forsyth, and you've got all these guys around you all pitted the same lap as you. So I mean, basically, Eric's got about 8 seconds to play with if he wants to try to use that fuel strategy again, try to save that fuel to the end, to try to get that one less stop made in that 72 car. So yeah, I say if you're Eric here, you're probably feeling pretty good. But again, I mean, as you just saw there with Scott, this track can bite easily and frequently, as we saw that right there. And I mean, they're only a third of the way through, I should say, lap 12 of 36 here. So, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunities for things to happen with these guys.
And it looks like Eric is on the black tires, so he's definitely set up for an extra lap run if he decides to try and do that.
Yeah, so he's good to go to the end here. Same thing with Craig Forsyth. He's on the primary blacks as well, so he's good to go. Matt Wagner, though, again, he's still on the alternate reds, as is Covey Moore and Jari Brupacher. I believe Covey may have actually started on the primary blacks. I'm not sure offhand. But yeah, so right now we'll have to kind of keep an eye on the tire situation here. Unfortunately, it looks like Jeff Heisong, he had an incident. He had to take a tow in that 18 car. So he's sitting in pit road along with that 156 of Scott Rankin. Saying with this being a 4-mile track, depending on where you have your incident, it could be a very long tow for those guys. However, I just saw some green lights popping up, Steve, and that's the push to pass button. That was Matt Wagner. Oh, one driver going off into the Canada corner. I think that was Michael Spell. So he just overshot. I think he's going to stay out of the wall. Looks like he's going to get away with it pretty unscathed. But I believe right now Matt Wagner's starting to try to put the pressure on Craig Forsyth. Again, I mean, I think right now he's probably feeling like he just hasn't done his strategy to fruition, because he's given up so much track time, but didn't stretch it that extra lap like we thought he would on that first run. So right now Matt is going to try to chase Craig back down, who is now down to just about 5/6 tenths of a second between the two of them.
Yep, he may have realized at this point that he's not going to get a 10-lap run in on any of these segments, and so he may as well just put the hammer down and go.
Yeah, so he has used 2 push to passes, so he has 8 remaining. Jari Brupacher has 9 remaining. Pretty much the remainder of the field have yet to use the button once here tonight. And I'm saying that's going to be a thing. I really think there's going to be a lot of drivers that don't really need to worry about it at this point. I'll say, but you can see the difference. I think again, the alternate reds versus the primary blacks. You can see, I'll say, the extra grip right now for Matt is really kind of helping him close the gap on that 27.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. That's probably the other thing that's making a big difference right now. Those tires will even out at some point because the black tires wear a lot slower than the red tires.
Yeah, and say as they come out the back here through the kink, Matt's again on the button. That leaves him 7 now. So I say he's definitely on the aggression here, trying to see is it enough for him to get a dive into Craig here in kind of the corner. He's going to have a nose in. Does Craig give him enough space? They just come out side by side. Matt's going to hold on to that spot though, so move Matt back up into second position. However, having to use 3 push-to-passes to make that pass happen. So I'll say that'll give Craig some advantage as the race continues on. And actually Matt's back on the button here to try to get away from that 27 car, which leaves Matt now down to 6 remaining. As here comes Kobe Moore again, slightly off schedule here. So Kobe Moore, he's going to hit his pit stop for the second time. I say it is a scheduled stop because the first one's off schedule. So say that's going to put Kobe in, drop him a few spots here.
And these guys are still losing time to Eric.
Yeah, Eric's on a mission right now. He's in the low 46s. We'll have to see what once now that Matt's cleared that 27 of Craig Forsyth, we'll have to compare their lap times with one another. So obviously when you're passing, it's going to slow you down a little bit. But like you said, it was a 46.24 for Eric Schaus to a 47.72 for Matt. So about a second and a half, which you can see. I mean, that lead for Eric is up to almost 12 seconds right now. Just shows the outright pace of that 72 car. And also, Steve, like we mentioned, on the primary blacks as well. So Eric's finding pace on all the tires here.
Yeah, this is definitely the return of Eric Schaus. I mean, he's always been extremely good on road courses, but we've kind of missed having him up here battling for the lead with these guys for a while.
Yeah, so hasn't had the seasons that he's been used to for sure recently. I'm saying Matt's still on the button, Steve, down to 5 now push to passes remaining as he again runs it here down the backstretch. So I'm not sure if this is Matt trying to chase down the gap to Eric Schaus or just trying to maybe break the draft of Craig Forsyth. So yeah, very interesting. I say it's kind of a tale of 2 runs here for Matt. We're full aggression on the second run so far. Again, very calm on the first one, which again didn't get him the extra lap like we thought it would. So we'll see the lap times look like next time around here. So it was a 46.10 for Eric Schaus, right near the fastest lap of his race, and it's a 46.91 for Matt Wagner. Even on the push to pass, Eric was able to stretch about 0.8 of a second. So Eric is just in the zone right now.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're Matt Wagner, you're getting very frustrated because nothing's working. I mean, it's not terrible. He's sitting there in second place, so life's not awful. But man, you want to just reach out and grab that guy in first and have a shot at it, and he's just falling farther and farther back.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Steve. So. I say right now, again, this is where I always get a little nervous about trying to talk too much or hype anybody up too much, because I say we've talked about my commentator's curse, but obviously right now things definitely going well here. But like I said, still a lot of racing left to go in this one. Like I said, I think 2 more pit stops most likely for all of our leaders, which I say we're pretty much getting not too far away from the next set of pit stops. Probably another 3 to 4 laps, I would assume. So right now though, this is the closest battle on track. However, currently highest climber is this 49 car again. Jari Brubacher got a big win last season, and right now 1 spot out of the podium here in that 49 machine. And also we talked about the recovery. Nick DeGroot, he's worked his way back up into the top 5 as well. So a great start for him after his turn 1 troubles, or lap 1 troubles, I should say. So a good recovery for Nick here as well to be in a good spot here as well.
Yeah, Nick very quietly back up to 5th place. Let's see, he's 7 seconds behind Jari Brubacher, and maybe he can make that up.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye on the lap times between them right now. It was a 47.55 for Jari that last time by. Actually, I'm sorry, 48.50 Wait for Nick to cross the line here. Wait for it to update. 47.25 for Nick. So actually about a 1.25 gain here for Nick that last time by. Looks like it's down to about 5 seconds between those two. And the other thing I'm noticing here this last time by, Steve, Craig Forsyth, he's now been on the button once. I think starting again, it's I think about time for those tires to kind of transition from the alternate reds to the primary blacks. I think that tire transition is where Craig is realizing, okay, now it's time for me to start putting the motor back down on that 11 car.
Yeah, maybe so. He's probably trying not to fall too far behind Matt Wagner, who is going to have to use the primary black next time, and Craig's going to be able to take those red tires. This is probably going to be our best battle of everybody on the track as far as like running right together and passing each other goes.
Yeah, and Duty mentioned Scott Rankin is back out on track, just got around, I believe that was Jeff Hysong for a position. I think Jeff just went ahead and let him go there. Right now Scott is 1 lap down as they run. Unfortunately, I said he would have been, I think, the one to watch to see what he could have done pending on kind of see how the strategies were going to unfold there. But yeah, so right now, though, he's moved his way back up into the 8th position. And then, like you said, though, this battle here, though, Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, Craig is slowly but surely starting to reel in that gap down to about a half a second here. As I say, Yari Brupacher, he's going to get on the button here down the front stretch, I think, trying to build that gap as well off of Nick DeGroot, seeing that pressure coming from behind.
And we're coming up on lap 18, which means that almost all these guys are going to be pitting.
Yeah, exactly right. I say right now we're at 20 to go. Next time by will be 19 to go. And so, I mean, based on that, I feel like these drivers probably feel pretty safe because, I mean, at that point, if you're pitting at 19, well, no, actually, I'm sorry, that would still make you be a 2-stop potentially to the end unless you can get a 10-lap run. Like I said, the only driver that was able to do that, that I should say that didn't have the incident, say Carl Henderson, Scott Rankin, those were the two that were able to run that extra lap here. So we'll have to kind of see, because that could play a big role as well, because, I mean, these cars are hauling the mail down the front stretch. Even the splash of fuel is going to cost you, I'd say, a good at least 10-15 seconds probably on track.
Okay, I'm going to watch Eric Schaus and see when he pits, because I think he'll probably be the first one in.
Yeah, saying he's heading there right now. So, like I said, this is actually going to be a telltale for Eric here, if he's going to have to come in, like I said, and then maybe make this next one the long run or not. And it looks like, no, he's going further, Steve. This could be the fuel stretch lap for him, as he's going to cross the line here. He's going to start lap 19 to go. So based on this, Steve, he's going to, next time by, will be pitting at 18 go, which would be 9 and 9. So I think Eric is right on the field number to make this his fuel save run. So we'll jump back again to this battle. Let's say it's hard to get away from this battle for a second, because, like I said, it's by far the closest battle on track right now. So these two just about a second apart from one another. They're pretty much near identical lap times the last time by. There's a 47.43 for Matt, 47.40 for Craig. And then Yari Brupacher a little back, about a second slower, 48.27. However, he was about 0.8 quicker than Nick DeGroot that last time by. Saying, actually, I think if I am not mistaken, we can pull up some lap times here. Let me try to see if I can hunt that down.
Eric just keyed up. I think he's pitting. I will let you know.
Yeah, so let's jump over to Eric, because, yeah, so you can see. Actually, also say may have been also a thank yous. I believe that was Carl Henderson, I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like, I think maybe Carl also giving him some room, letting him go on by, getting him some clean track again. So, yeah, so I say, and that's also a big thing as well, as you always want to try to see if you can get around the traffic at the right time. And if you're not quite on pace with some of these guys, it's always hard to watch these guys at the right time. But actually, we got to jump back here, because we've had a change in position for a second. Matt Wagner went off here, I believe, at Canada Corner. That's giving Craig Forsyth back to the 2nd position. So now Matt back in recovery mode. And like you said, Steve, Eric Schaus is in pit road. as is Craig Forsyth here as well, and that's going to now separate this battle here for that second spot, because now Matt Wagner about 5 to 6 seconds off him, as now he's going to hit pit road. And I would suspect, yeah, here comes Jari Brupacher right behind as well, and probably going to bring Nick DeGroot along as well. So right now, pretty much everybody's kind of going status quo here, but like I said, Eric Schaus though with that just right now monstrous lead over the rest of the field. Yes, and as you can see, there goes Eric already basically out of the pits before Craig even hits pit road. That's just the gap that he's got over these guys. So he's, like I said, life is looking really good for him. He's got 18 to go. He's got one more pit stop to go. So right now he's just got to play it smart here, keep this car on track, no mistakes for another 2 fuel runs, and he's going to be in a great position here tonight. Craig Forsyth, he's been able to get out of pit road in second position. Covey Moore is going to cycle out in third. Again, still a little bit off sequence, so Covey going to have to make 2 more pit stops to everybody else's, 1 more to the end. Let's say then you got Matt Wagner about 4 seconds back of him, Jari Brupacher about 4 off of him, and then the same thing goes for Nick DeGroot. So right now, pretty much a 4-second gap between pretty much 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Okay, and I'm watching Carl Henderson now to see when he makes his pit stop, because he's still out on the track.
Yeah, I think for Carl, I want to say he can probably go 1 more after this one, unless with him, because I say this is going to basically be his equivalent of coming to 18 to go. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if he comes in this time or if he can go that extra lap as he gets a little loose there off the last turn. And yeah, he's going to go 1 more lap, Steve. So pretty much Carl's going to have no issue making it to the end of the 1 more stop after he makes his last stop here in the next lap, which will also give him the opportunity to get a little aggressive on the push to pass in case maybe someone makes a mistake around him. So he can then capitalize and be aggressive on that push to pass on those in the final fuel run. Also, doing a mention, unfortunately, looks like the 51 Jim Brooks, he has retired from the event. That leaves us 11 cars on track, 7 of which are currently on the lead lap. So I'd say it was a bit of a smaller field to begin with, but I'd say just the overall pace of Eric Schaus has just been, like I said, been pretty much just picking him up and putting him down. I'd say he's just been on a tear here tonight. So I'd say with the pit stop cycles just about complete, we'll run through the field here once again. So right now, Eric Schaus, as our race leader's pretty much been going flag to flag here. So I actually have to double check. I'm not even sure if I don't think anybody else has led a lap as well. I think they've all been stuck on the same strategy as him, and he's built up a gap for those that went further. So I think Eric has pretty much been able to actually, well, maybe it's possible that Scott Rankin may have got a lap led in that 156 car. Not 100% sure, but it's still a great race for Eric thus far. Second place, Craig Forsyth. He has gained 3 spots from his starting position. In third at the moment, Covey Moore, again off sequence here, but it will be very interesting to see where he kind of cycles back in with the rest of the field once it gets down to crunch time towards the end of this, because we talked about he's going to have a lot of pace here tonight, as well as they say that he goes off track into the dirt a little bit. It's going to cost him a handful of seconds there to Matt Wagner. As you can see, here comes Matt with a huge head of steam as they come into the carousel. Matt Wagner, our pole sitter, down to the 4th position, working trying to get that 3rd position back though. And it'll drop to 5th is Jari Brupacher, about 6.5 seconds behind Matt Wagner. And then slowly but surely closing that gap on Jari is Nick DeGroot, down to about 2 seconds now between them. And then in the 7th position, Carl Henderson, again, been able to really stretch the field numbers in that 42 machine. Probably gonna hit pit road, I think, this time around. As I say, my co-announcer here is very upset about something here, apologies. And then I mentioned Scott Rankin in the 8th position, say with his mistake, unfortunately, after his first pit stop. Jeff Heisong in the 9th spot, about 5 seconds back for position on him. And then you got Thaddeus Mcmurray in the 10th spot, 4 positions gained from his starting spot. And then Michael Spell, last car on track, as he's doing a little bit of off-roading there as he gets it back on track, though. And while we were doing all that, Steve, Eric Schaus, fastest lap of the race, 45.45. And I'll say, just to kind of put a stamp on things, puts down the fastest lap tonight.
Holy cow. And it looks like I think he's still on black tires, isn't he?
Yeah, he is on the primary black, so I'll say he's making those things work, and it's without any push to pass as well. So I want to say, yes, I remember before we had some confusion on the highest climber bonus points, or I think there is actually a bonus point for the fastest lap, if I'm not mistaken. So we could see some drivers maybe start to get a little aggressive on the final laps of the race, maybe trying to use the push to pass. Because again, you've got pretty much, what, 3 great straightaways to use that push to pass to really gain some time on the rest of the field. So it'll be fun to see if anybody tries to pull that strategy throughout the rest of this race tonight.
So, am I correct that everybody other than Covey Moore still has to take just one more pit stop?
Yes, I believe everybody has one more pit stop. I think Covey's going to have to do 2 stops unless he's been able to somehow do some big fuel savings. He last pitted on lap 13, so say that's going to be the question to see when he's going to have to come in for his finals, I should say for his next stop. I'll say because basically he pitted 5 laps sooner than the leader, so it's going to be interesting to see there. And I think Craig Forsyth actually may have just had a moment out of that last turn. So I saw him for a split second say he was entering the pits. I knew that wasn't right, but he's still on track, so I think he may have had a slight moment there. We do have a handful of cars hitting pit road here, though. You've got Carl Henderson just now coming out. You've got Scott Rankin, and you've got Jeff Heisong. So you got these 3 drivers. So kind of in the same situation as Covey Moore, I feel like. Just a little bit off sequence here.
Carl's been running my kind of race, just a very conservative, like way off the pace. Don't make any mistakes, other than his one slide off into the grass. But you know, just try and stay on the track and not damage your car and have to take a tow or anything like that. And it's working really well for him sitting there in 7th place.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, right now he's in that 7th spot. He's got 4 positions gained from the starting position. So yeah, it's a, like I said, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can't go too crazy. I say we're watching right now. You've got Matt Wagner still working over Covey Moore. Okay, as I say, for seconds I thought something happened to Covey, but it looks like he's still good to go here. Let's see what's going on here.
Whoa, so Covey's off the track. Covey just went off the track.
Oh, he took a tow. You're right. I was watching Matt Wagner. Who was he working over? Because there was another car that was right in front of him. I was mistaking them. That was a 37 car. Yeah, so you're right. Covey had something happen to him. Let's go back. Let's take a look here. So we're back here. We're going to take a look. Oh, he almost loops it. Saves. Oh, he catches the grass. And then, hard hit right at the wall at the Johnsonville Bridge there. And that's going to, unfortunately, forces him to take a tow. So like I said, I mean, keeping it clean, I mean, that's going to be the name of the game for a lot of these guys. And I say, unfortunate mistake for Covey. That's going to promote Carl Henderson. Now he's up to the 6th position, Steve. So that puts him now 5 positions gained after that. So unfortunately, though, for Covey having to take a tow there. But I'm going to jump back to Nick DeGroot now, though, Steve, because he has caught Jari Brubacher only 0.6 of a second between the two of them now. And this is a battle for the 4th position.
Watching that one too.
As I say, up front, you're not missing a lot. Eric Schaus has ballooned his lead, Steve, 20 seconds over Craig Forsyth. Craig's got about a 5-second margin over Matt Wagner. And then Matt's got about 6 seconds over Jari right now. So this is pretty much the best race we've got on track at the moment. I'm saying this is, again, battle for the 4th and 5th positions here with these 2 drivers with still 1 pit stop left to go.
And just noticed that Thaddeus Mcmurray had run off the track into one of the runoff areas, so he didn't hit anything and is able to keep going. So that's a good thing. He's a couple laps down, though.
A little bit of dirt there on the exit's going to cost him a couple of tenths, at least, probably maybe even a second there coming out into the carousel. So Nick's going to have to try to regroup here and try to regain some of that lost time. And the thing, though, again, he's been pushing Jari. Yari's been burning push to passes, Steve. He's down to 4 remaining. Nick's got all 10 left in the bank. So right now, Matt and Jari, they only have 4 left. Eric Schaus has 10. Craig Forsyth has 9. And then Nick DeGroot has all 10 left as well. Carl Henderson 10 as well. So I'll say again, if it starts getting closer towards the end of this race here, big advantage right now to that 89.
Well, that's just an embarrassment of riches for Eric Schaus.
It really is. And so we'll see. I say if anybody's able to beat that fast lap that he's got at the moment, I think that's where you might get to see it put in use. But I think for now, Eric's just gonna. I think it's one of those races where obviously he's fast. I mean, he's just been clicking off monster lap after monster lap. It's just when you kind of get in that zone where you're just everything's going right. You're just hitting everything spot on. It's where you really don't want to introduce something new, because I mean, you hit that push to pass, you're going to be coming into those turns at a bit higher speed. That's going to be a different braking zone. Just always a little bit of potentials for different mistakes on that. So I think if you're Eric here, I think you kind of just be happy with where you're at the moment. As I say that, though, we'll see, because Scott Rankin, he just put down a purple lap there, 44.75. So I'll say a really stout lap there for that 156. So I'll say again, just unfortunate that if not for that one mistake, I'd love to see where this guy would be on track right now in relation to our leaders.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely had speed. And fuel savings.
Yeah, exactly right. He had a little bit of all of it there. So I'm watching Jari Brubacher. The gap has closed yet again down to about a second over himself and Nick de Groot. So say we're not too far away, Steve. Probably about 4 more laps until we see the last scheduled pit stop of the race. I'm saying that's going to be the next thing. Again, these guys are going to have to kind of try to manage again the speed versus the fuel, and just again no mistakes right now. Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner. Matt is closing the gap little by little right now. It's down to about 3.5 seconds as you see Craig head out onto the front stretch. Matt right behind him there. We're going to come back because Nick de Groot is all over the back. Jari Brubacher on the button again, Steve. 3 push passes remaining here, and Nick still saving all of his pushes here.
Okay, I'd rather be Nick than Jari.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, again, with these straightaways, if Nick can get good exits off of it, he can use the draft to a huge advantage right now, as you can see, using every inch of the track there at turn number 1. I mean, if he gets a good exit here at a 3, he might not even need the button. He's just going to be able to use that toe to stay right on the rear wing of Jari right now, and just a half a second between them. As I say, Matt Wagner, he's closed the gap now, so it's about 2.5 to 3 seconds over Craig. So that fight for a second not over yet either.
Well, and these are the last 2 cars on the lead lap, so there's not really any pressure from behind Nick de Groot. And let's see, they're 7 seconds behind Matt Wagner, so
yeah, I mean, that's a great point as well, Steve, is kind of the risk versus reward. Again, I mean, you kind of wonder for Nick here, is this one where some of your main competition weren't able to make the race, unfortunately, as we see no Henry Bennett, no Andrew Wood. We know those guys would have been a lot of fun to watch here tonight as well. They had some prior commitments, though. We also don't have Charles T tonight, unfortunately. So for Nick, it's one of those things that maybe you think, like, is this one where it's like, okay, let me just get the best result I can? Or do you feel like maybe you're playing with a little bit of house money and maybe try to make some aggressive moves that you might normally not make, knowing that even with a slight mistake, you probably won't lose that 5th position?
well, it looks to me like he's probably in just get the best finish I can mode. I mean, I think what he's doing right now. Whoa!
Oh, there's a mistake by Jari. That was exactly what Nick needed there. And Nick right away, Steve, on the button, wants to try to break that draft, see if he can separate himself from Jari. So Jari has not responded with the push to pass, but is in the draft. So we'll see, can Nick now use this to chase him, or I should say sneak away, or can Jari chase on back and try to see if he can put the pressure back on Nick?
I think that Nick was faster than Jari. I don't think Yari's going to be able to get him back, at least not on this set of tires. But I think what Nick was doing was just, he knew he was faster, but he didn't want a chance at pass at that point, and just figured he'd kind of hang out and make a pass when it felt like the time was right. Because really, there's no other battle that the 2 of those guys are going to be in other than with each other.
Yeah, exactly right. Because right now they have pretty much literally a lap lead over Scott Rankin now, who's up to 6th. So they just got around Carl Henderson. So that was a pass for position. So move Scott back up to 6th, Carl back to 7th. But it's also one of those things, though, for me, Steve, I'm sometimes a better driver when I'm chasing instead of leading, because I just feel like if I'm in front of somebody, more often than not, I'm kind of looking behind. I'm not focusing forward like I should. And so say for Jari, maybe he's a little bit better as the kind of the aggressor, having to chase me back down instead of trying to keep them behind you. So it'll be fun to see, does Jari, maybe his pace picks up a little bit as he starts to try to chase back down that 89 car.
That's a really good point, Kyle, because a lot of times when you're in front, you don't really like you when you're the car behind. You can set your pace off what the guy in front of you is doing. When you're in front, you just have to try and figure out what's the pace you can go without pushing it too hard and running off the track. And now that the guy in back can just take advantage of that.
Yeah, so yeah, that guy behind kind of based his responses off of you. But Steve, I'm going to give you a shocking development. Eric Schaus used the push to pass button down that long back stretch into turn number 5. So is Eric looking for maybe a hot lap here before he makes his final pit stop? Or maybe just trying to really maximize his in-lap because he won't cross start-finish line before he hits pit road at 9 to go, I believe. I suspect we'll see him in this time. So say this is, again, one of those critical in-lap, out-laps, but I'm actually going to jump a little bit further back because we've actually got a good battle here. Matt Wagner, he's brought it down to about a second on Craig Forsyth, so his battle for second is still on.
Wow, that's really good considering that, Matt had a little issue there and wasn't he 5 seconds behind at one point?
Yeah, I believe it was about 5 seconds. I do need to mention Matt is on the primary black, Steve, so he's good to go there. And based on what I'm seeing, honestly, I feel like the primary blacks might be the better race tire. It just seems like you don't lose a lot off the initial get-go, but it seems like at the end the pickup is really solid. So I almost think the strategy here is Matt's on the button once again here. I think he's trying to close that gap to as close as he can before they hit pit road. Actually Eric Schaus on the button yet again, and actually on the button heading into the pits. A little surprised on that one. I didn't think that'd be a good place to use the push to pass, but he does. I say so. That's gonna be Eric's last scheduled stop, coming to 9 to go. As Matt Wagner, Craig Forsyth, just 1 second between them, as we expect to see both these drivers hit pit road for their final stop of the race as well.
Maybe
actually,
Eric,
split strategy. Craig's gonna stay out one more lap here.
Maybe Eric was thinking, hey, I got 10 push to passes and there's less than 10 laps to go. Yep, less than 10 laps to go, so I may as well use one every lap.
Yeah, that could exactly be it. And so a little surprise here. Craig actually able to stretch his fuel this time. He's going to go to 8 laps remaining when he's going to make his final stop. So if I'm Craig here, again, he's got 9 remaining here, Steve. Honestly, I feel like this would be the time to start burning them. Really kind of get that in-lap, out-lap. We talked about how crucial those are. And do need to mention Eric Schaus back out on track. He's on the primary black tires. Matt Wagner coming out on the alternate reds. Nick DeGroot and Jari Brupacher, they're both in pit road as well. Looks like Jari going for the primary blacks and Nick on the alternate reds. So a little bit of mixed strategy between our battles for position here. So now for Craig, it's going to be fun to see what does he do in relation to Matt Wagner. Because again, Matt Wagner went to the alternate reds on the button already. Matt's trying to get the big outlap here. See if he can jump that 27 car in pit stops.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see where Craig comes out in relation to Matt, because I think that there's enough of a difference in speed between new tires and old tires that Matt could have a couple seconds gained on Craig.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling here, Steve. The question now, of course, for Craig is, now that you only have to go 8 laps remaining on the set of tires, this, I think, opens up. I think the reds might be the way to go because you don't have to worry about trying to save them all the way to the end. As here comes Craig, he's going to make his final stop. We'll hop on board to show you how abruptly you have to slow down for the pit speed right there, as he's going to schedule in for his final stop right now in that 27 car. I say it won't be any fight because you're going to see Eric Schaus swing right on by him here in just a moment while he's still hitting pit road. However, I believe at the line, Craig may have got that lap led. I'm not 100% sure, but that could have been a huge thing for him as well to get that bonus point. Because like I mentioned, I don't think Eric's really let anybody else lead a lap here tonight.
Okay, Matt just came off the final turn. He's on the front stretch, past the entrance to the pits. And let you know when he hits the start-finish line there.
Yeah, so we're watching Matt. Craig is just leaving the pit road now, and there goes Matt. It's going to be pretty close, Steve. Maybe about a second or two between the two of them. So I think it's game on. And unfortunately, while we were watching that, I saw just out of the corner of my eye, unfortunately, I think Carl Henderson had a moment coming out of that last turn. He's hitting pit road here, which honestly, if you're going to have an issue, that's a good spot to have it, because I say you can just drive straight into the pits and get service done and back away. So that's going to put Carl in his final stop of the race there as well in that 42 machine.
and I'm not seeing any wings on the front of that car. So oh, there we go. He's got his wings.
So we'll see. I'm not sure if it's a fast repair, if he's having to do a long pit stop. Yeah, 877. So I think he was able to save that fast repair all the way to the end. So great job there by Carl to keep that car in good condition all the way to the end. But now this is going to be, I think this is the battle in my opinion right now. It's 2 seconds between Craig and Matt, both on the alternate reds. Matt has 1 push to pass remaining. Craig has 9 remaining. Can Craig use that advantage to his advantage, I should say? And as I said, that he is on the button here, going to try to close that gap down the back.
So I just want to ask a question about a couple guys farther back. Scott Rankin and Jeff Hysong, do they still have to pit again, or have they done their final stops?
They will need to make one more stop. They last pit on lap number 20 for each of them. So yeah, so they both will need to make one more stop. So say that'll be an interesting situation to see where they come out in relation to Carl. I think at the moment, I think Scott will cycle out in front of Carl. We saw that pass for position a little earlier. I think Carl, though, I think he can jump Jeff Hysong and put himself back up into 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And Craig is getting very, very aggressive on the button here, Steve. It's down to just under 2 seconds right now. I say Craig definitely trying to bring that gap down to that 11 car.
Yeah, Craig's got that extra lap of fresh tires, so...
Yeah, extra lap of fresh tires, extra push passes. However, he is burning through them in a hurry, Steve. He is down to 6 already remaining. I think he's trying to push to get into the draft of that 11 car. Matt, of course, trying to push, I think, for all he's worth, because Matt last time by his fastest lap of the race, 45.26. So I think Matt doing everything he can to keep that 27 car out of draft range.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this is our best battle of the race right now.
Yeah, Jari Brubacher, Nick DeGroot's been able to stretch the lead on him. It's about 6 seconds between those two. So right now this is definitely by far our best battle on track. However, Eric Schau's fans, Rachel, he's still holding about a solid 20-second lead over Matt Wagner here. Like I said, he just needs to keep it clean for now, coming to the start-finish line here. 6 more laps to go, keep this car clean in one piece, and he's going to be a very happy driver tonight.
How many push-to-passes does Eric have left now?
He's still rocking 7 push-to-passes. Nick DeGroot's got 9 remaining. So right now, there's still plenty of drivers with plenty of push-to-passes remaining. The 2 that have the least are Matt Wagner, Jari Brubacher. They only have 1 and 2 respectively. And as I said, that's Scott Rankin, Steve. He is in pit road for his final stop of the race. Suspect we'll see Jeff Hysong not too far behind there as well. So yeah, but right now we're going to stick with this battle here for this second position, because right now it's kind of ebb and flowing a little bit. This time by Craig was only a 10th and a half quicker than Matt, a 45.82 to Matt's 45.80 or 45.97. So not a huge difference between the two of those drivers. Craig's going to need to get, I think basically a second and a half, I think is going to be the magic spot for Craig to get to Matt. And yeah, sure enough, Jeff Hysong also in pit road. And did you mention, yeah, Scott Rankin, he does come out in front of Carl Henderson. As Carl's coming out of the final turn right now. It's going to be close between him and Jeff Hysong. Actually, it looks like Jeff's going to cycle out just in front of Carl. So you see Jeff leaving pit road now. We're going to see that 42 car just about to peek over the hill here. So right now, it's like Jeff actually looking pretty solid here for that 7th spot. Oh, actually, Craig got a moment, Steve. I think he's off track, and that's giving Matt the position.
I saw that. Well, Matt had the position.
Had the position. It's giving Matt more breathing room, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. Craig just he pushed it too hard into that sharp left-hander before you get to the carousel, and just ran off into the sand trap.
Yeah, so we're going to pull it back up here as you can head into that turn. Yeah, he decided just a little wiggle to try to catch it. That forced him off track. He was saying... It shows he was only off track for about 3 to 4 seconds, but I mean, that's enough to basically, like I said, go from about a second and a half to 2 seconds to now about 3 and a half here. So saying the other thing though for Matt Wagner now is he's going to be coming up in live traffic here. He's got the 88 of Michael Spell in front of him. So again, you hope you catch that car in a good spot, because if you catch him in a bad position, that can really cost you some exit speed and a lot of lap time. So think right now Matt's going to be hoping that he can catch this 88 car at just the right time, which right now looking like he might get him down this backstretch here heading into turn 5. And he is out of push to pass, Steve. He just used his last one.
And that could be costly if Craig doesn't make any more mistakes.
I'm a little surprised by that. I really thought this would be the opportunity where you save that push to pass and you use the draft off the 88 car. But maybe Matt felt like he was in his best advantage to try to just do everything he could. So right now though, that gives Matt kind of a lap car buffer between himself and Craig Forsyth. I'd say Craig's gonna probably catch him, I'd say right after the carousel, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not close enough to get him here through the carousel. And I think this is going to be a perfect opportunity for Matt, because Craig's going to get a little dirty air here through that carousel, but then he's going to be able to get the power down here and probably sneak around the 88 car here through the backstretch here. So, but yeah, I think Matt Wagner probably caught Michael Spell at just the right time. As you see here, Craig is going to make the move here, cut to the inside, and he's going to clear that position before he heads into the Canada corner. Oh, and by the way, anybody was wondering, Eric Schaus still leading, 4 laps to go, 17 seconds now. I think Eric's actually kind of turned down the wick a little, Steve. I thought he'd be going for a fast lap, but I think he's just playing it smart here, playing it safe, until probably in another lap or two he'll prove me wrong and he'll go for a full send lap, just knowing Eric.
So how many push to passes does he have left now?
Eric has 7 remaining, Craig has 4 remaining. And actually, Craig was about a half a second quicker than Matt that last time by, so it's down to about 2.7 seconds. As Scott Rankin, he puts another purple lap in, Steve, 44.21. Again, Scott just showing what he could have done if not for that slight mistake for him. But just a lot of pace in that 156 car. I think he actually even did that lap without any push to passes because he is out as well. So big lap by that 156.
Yeah, that's impressive. So, is Eric running? Has he run this paint scheme before? I'm noticing he has a very beautiful Hot Wheels scheme today.
I believe he has run this Hot Wheels scheme a few times this season. I say, unfortunately, he hasn't been kind of a series regular, I should say. I think he's kind of been picking and choosing races here and there. Probably also some commitments preventing him from racing. But yeah, you're right though. Very good looking scheme there. I'd say kind of goes along well with your Nerf scheme that you run in a lot of your cars, so kind of works pretty well with those guys. And unfortunately, I see Carl, he's hitting pit road one more time, Steve. Saw a piece of the front wing missing on that car, but I think that'll be an easy front wing repair. So I'd say, and I don't think it's going to cost him any track position either. He's got a pretty good gap over Thaddeus Mcmurray. But I'm watching this battle again for second, Steve, because Craig's got it down to back under 2 seconds here as they cross for 3 to go. You see Matt trying to break the draft down that front stretch as well. It was running right up against the inside wall there. Craig followed right along, though, trying to pick up any draft he can. Craig's still got 3 push-to-passes remaining, though, so he's got a little bit of extra power in the bank that he can use a few more times here before we get to the close of this race. Let's say now for Craig, I think he just needs to figure out when's the best time and place to use them if he can get himself in attacking distance of that 11 car.
Yeah, if I'm Craig, I mean he's gaining so well without using the push to pass. I would just save probably 2 of them for when I have a chance to actually get by Matt Wagner.
Yeah, I like that idea, Steve. Like I said, if he can get himself in the draft window, that's going to be the first step. And then I think, yeah, if he can get into position with maybe the 1 to go, that's, I think, when he can really get aggressive and say use at least the 2 push passes, maybe even all 3 on the final lap. So, because again, there are 3 spots to use it. Even coming out of the last turn to the last lap, it's a pretty long stretch going up the hill as well to make that move happen. As I say that, Craig's on the button here, going down the backstretch about 1.5 seconds, Steve. That's right around that magic draft number. So we'll see what Craig's able to do, because last time by he was about a full second quicker than an 11. As Eric Schaus coming out of the final turn, he's going to take the flag for 2 to go here. So he's got 2 more laps to try to get through this one cleanly. It's down to about 1.3 seconds now between that 11 and the 27.
That's an impressive recovery from Craig Forsyth. Both these guys are tremendously good road racers, so.
Yeah, I have a feeling both are going to be pretty worn out, but both are going to be very happy about the way that they've been able to battle with one another. I'm sure both will kind of rue some little mistakes here and there, but I say it's always fun when you can race and kind of just go full aggression with the guys around you. So I say they're going to come up on a little bit of traffic here. That's going to be the 37 of Thaddeus Mcmurray. Matt's going to pick up his draft here. This is going to be a huge opportunity for Matt. Again, use the draft here. Can he get around that 37 car, though, into turn number 5? And right now, I think that is too far ahead. This could now play into the hands of that 27. Actually, you see there, Thaddeus moves right out of the way. Lets the 11 swing on by. I think he's trying to do the same for Craig. So it's a really nice, respectful gesture there from that number 37 machine.
Yep, definitely. Boy, I don't know if Craig's going to get there.
It's going to be tight. He's only got 2 remaining, Steve. It seems like he really likes to use one down this backstretch here right out of the carousel. So I'm going to watch that 27 car and see if he goes once more on it. He is on it again, Steve. 1.6 seconds on the exit of the carousel. And it's just closing and closing. It's already down to 1.5. Gets to about 1.4 now, right as they're about to hit the braking point again. So basically that push pass worth about 2.5 tenths of a second there just on that backstretch alone. Up front, though, Eric Schaus is going to come across line 1 to go, Steve. That 72 car has done everything right here as he takes the white flag here at Road America. Second and third, 1.2 seconds between the 2 of them. This definitely puts Craig in the draft range. Look at Matt weaving, trying to break the draft. Does not want to let him get any toe at all. So he's got to be careful not to do too much weaving. So he can always throw you off your rhythm a little bit there. But he is giving it everything he can to try to keep that number 27 behind him. And he got a great exit out of turn number 1. Steve actually stretched it to about 1.6 seconds out of that turn. Oh, a little bobble for Craig. I think got it too aggressive on the throttle. That's dropped him down to over 2 seconds back. That might be it for that battle for second.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be it. But it's great. It was a great job of closing back up.
Yeah, a great fight between the 2 of them. So while they're doing, while they've separated themselves a little bit, we're going to hop on board for this last little section of the race with our race leader and just complete domination tonight, Steve. So you see the 13.6 second margin, 13.5 now. It really doesn't show what Eric has done tonight. I mean, he's pretty much, I think he's, like I said, he's turned down the whip. He's got 7 push-to-passes remaining that he could have used should he wanted to. But, I mean, at one point, he had a 20-second lead over that second and third place cars. So, I mean, just hats off to Eric Schaus here as he's going to come through the final set of corners here in just a moment. Out of the final turn here, it's going to be Eric Schaus getting one. He's on the button, Steve. You can see weaving a little bit back and forth, enjoying this one down the straightaway. It's going to be Eric Schaus tonight getting the win here at Road America. Just complete domination, I feel like, from that 72 car tonight. And then that battle for that second position, you can see Matt Wagner is going to hang on to that spot over Craig Forsyth in third. Just a wonderful battle between the 2 of them. That was a lot of fun to see those guys put on the show that they were doing. And then coming home in fourth, a great recovery after that lap 1 incident. It's going to be Nick DeGroot here. He's going to continue a top 5 streak. Unfortunately, no podium streak after tonight, but a great recovery for him. I say if not for that lap 1 mistake, probably was in that podium fight because he was putting on some great lap times as well. And then rounding out our top 5 is going to be the number 49 of Jari Brupacher. Will be our last car on the lead lap here tonight.
Yeah, that's a tremendous run by Nick DeGroot, who was not expecting to have a great run tonight since it's a road course, and to have made a mistake and still recovered back to fourth. It's a great job.
Yeah, really good job. I'd say we'll watch Eric here as he kind of does his cool down lap here, waiting for the final results to pop up. So they got a couple of cars, I think, left to finish up their laps here, and that'll give us our final results, as now it is complete. As you can see on the screen here, it's going to be Eric Schaus over Matt Wagner there in second. Craig Forsyth in the third position. Then you got Nick DeGroot, Gary Brubacher. And like I mentioned, Scott Rankin all the way back up to 6, unfortunately, after his mistake after his first pit stop. But definitely a lot of pace in that 156 machine. I'll say Jeff Heisong also caught up in an incident, not of his doing a great recovery to get back up into 7th. Then you got Carl Henderson in 8th, Thaddeus Mcmurray 9th, Michael Spell rounding out our top 10. And then unfortunately, drivers' early retirements include Kobe Moore, Jim Brooks, and Jim Herrick for this evening's results tonight. So we will watch this 72 car. We'll see if he's out of practice, Steve, because it's probably been a little while since he's been able to do some burnouts here. We'll see if he's able to kind of get him nailed down. This is also a very narrow front stretch here. So he's gonna have to. Oh, actually, it's gonna be quit, loop around, and he is done. He doesn't wanna risk it. Gonna keep that car clean for next week.
Maybe he ran out of gas. Wink, wink.
That's actually a good possibility because that was right on the edge of that window. So that's a good point, Steve. So what we will do though is we're gonna talk to some of our drivers, and we're gonna start off with our third place finisher of Craig Forsyth. So let me grab him on down here, and we will have a chat. As we grab Craig Forsyth. Craig, you started 5th. You finished in 3rd. That battle, you and Matt, I mean, it was kind of just back and forth. Pit strategy, you say you were able to actually stretch that one extra lap on that final stint there. Steve and I were commenting about just kind of the in and out laps on what was going to be the way to go there. I mean, just take us through your battle and the strategy to try to see what you could do with that number 11.
It turned out to be the wrong strategy, but yeah, no, I knew I wasn't as fast as these guys, so I needed to come up with something to try and stay ahead of Matt. So I figured I'd stretch it the extra lap since I was ahead of him, and then hope that with all my push to passes that I hadn't used, I'd be able to push on, rocket past him on the last lap or the last stint. But it didn't work out because I started making mistakes, and they caught up with me.
It almost worked out. I mean, we were watching you. You made one mistake that put you. I think it put you back to from 1.5 seconds to like 3 or 4 seconds behind, and you made all that back up. And we thought maybe we were going to see a battle coming to the flag.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to use too much push to pass trying to make that time back up. So at that point, I think I was down to 3 push to passes left, and had to be really specific with where I was using them, and just didn't have the laps left to do it. Kudos to Matt. He's I mean, kudos to Eric. Geez, he dominant victory today. That's for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah, Eric was definitely on his game tonight. And the other thing too, Craig, was I'll probably wind up talking to a bunch of drivers on this one, is obviously the requirement of having the 2 sets of tires tonight. To me, it seemed like the primary blacks really, to me, seemed like they really held up well and didn't drop off a ton right off the bat either. Whereas it seemed like the softs kind of fell off at the latter half of the race. Did you have any preference? Did either tire feel like they kind of worked better for you and your driving style tonight?
Yeah, honestly, I thought the Reds were going to be better. I knew the last couple laps were terrible on the Reds, so that's why but you were so fast on the Reds initially that I figured that was the way to go for me. Three sets of Reds, 1 set of primaries. But after I got off that set of primaries, I started thinking about it. I was only losing I think 0.8 off of my fastest laps at the end of the primaries. I probably should have stuck with the primaries, even on the last stint, because I think they would have not fallen as badly off. Once the Reds went on lap 6 or so, you weren't going forward anymore.
Yeah, so it definitely, like you said, it definitely seemed like there was pretty significant fall off towards the end. I mean, we saw a tire drop off of probably about 3-4 seconds or so over the course of the run, especially on the Reds. But yeah, I mean, it was a really awesome fight though between you and Matt. It was a lot of fun. We saw Matt playing just full defense, trying to prevent you, especially once you were in draft range, just do everything he could to break the draft off of you. So it was a lot of fun to watch. We definitely had a lot of focus on you guys tonight because so you guys were putting on a great battle towards the front of this one. So just hats off, Craig. Like I said, didn't feel like you had the pace of those guys, but you definitely were keeping them honest though tonight. So I want to give you the floor though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that 3rd place run?
Oh, I got to thank the whole LMCgear.com crew. It was it was a good run, and I like Road America. It's a fun track to drive on, and it was had a good round.
So I enjoy this one. I say we'll see you next week. I say I'm trying to remember where we're at. I can't remember offhand, but I say it won't be as long of a road course, I'm sure, as this one is tonight. But I say definitely a well-deserved third place finish. So rest, enjoy it, and we'll catch you again here soon, sir.
Hey, glad to be back up here. I'll talk to you guys later. Stay safe.
Yeah, glad to see you back up there. Great run.
All right, that's going to switch us now over to our second place finisher. We're going to drag in the 11 of Matt Wagner, was our pole sitter tonight. And Steve, you and I kind of were thinking that first run looked like kind of full fuel save mode out of that 11 car, kind of letting those guys go early, maybe costing himself a little bit of track position. Matt, I'll say you'll have to kind of prove us right or wrong on that one. But it kind of felt like you didn't get the mileage you were probably hoping for out of that first run. Just the way your pace looked like, it kind of seemed like you wanted to try to go that one extra lap than the rest of the field. But just it didn't pan out for you. Was that just too close to cut it, or take us through that, especially that first stint?
You're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. I was trying to save as much as possible to make that extra lap, what Scott did, but he had to really, really back down on to make it, and he just ran out right on pit road. So maybe that would have panned out for me, but as far as you had to make a 10-lap stint to consider yourself to run hard the rest of the race.
So
But
yeah, that's we were pretty sure that's what you were doing, and when you ended up pitting the same time as everybody else was, I was like, well, if he was using that strategy, it didn't quite work out, and it cost
no, it did
a lot
not.
of
It
time.
it, it was a epic fail, as you would say.
Yeah,
But I went too lean on the field map. It is what it is, but you learn and you go on to the next race.
explain that, Matt. Are you saying that if you go too lean, you can burn more fuel, and if you didn't go too lean?
No. If what had happened was I was trying to save as much as possible. See, on fuel map 5, that is your race fuel save mode, and fuel map 8 is your caution map. So about 6-7 laps, I was on fuel map 5, and that's how everybody got in front of me. See, if I would have left it on 7 and just used the draft on the cars in front of me, it would have been no problem. So I kind of cost myself some time, a lot of time.
Okay, that's interesting. So by not taking advantage of the draft and using a 7, you actually burn more fuel.
Well, you burn more fuel if you put it in map 7.
Yeah,
Right,
so
but I mean,
this is,
if you have it on 5 and you're not getting any draft, then that's
Okay, so I'll explain you the fuel maps.
yes,
One,
please.
okay, it goes 1 through 5 racing. Okay, on ovals, 1 being your max fuel burn, and it goes from 2, 3, 4, 5 being your leanest. Okay, 1 being the richest. Fuel map 6 and 7, that cuts off it delays the RPM every time you push the throttle down. So 6 and 7 are your road course maps. Fuel map 8 is under caution, which is the absolute leanest fuel you can run. You can run it in race, but it's very, very slow.
And so for the race tonight, what map were you running then? Were you running 5 then, you were saying?
Yes, I was running 5. That was too much of a risk.
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, there's a couple of drivers that were able to do it. Like you said, Scott was able to, and then also Carl Henderson, they were able to run that first stint a little longer. But I mean, still overall, though, I mean, still obviously a great result for you tonight. Say Eric obviously just looked like he was on another zip code there with the lap times he was putting, and still running good fuel numbers as well. But then, I mean, we got to talk about that fight with you and Craig, because I mean, that was a great back and forth between you guys pretty much throughout the course of the race. I mean, take us through how fun it is to race with some of the guys that you race with kind of week in, week out, and over the course of multiple years now, to be able to kind of do that kind of battling.
All right, so what happened I'm sure you saw the incident down in Canada Corner. I didn't brake early enough, and when I braked late, I was headed right for just caught the gravel trap, but I lost about 3, 4, I think maybe 4 seconds. And the next stint, I was able to catch back up to him with black tires, which I was quite surprised. And that I used a bunch of my push to passes to catch back up to him. So pitting early, 1 lap later than him, kind of prevailed me running right on reds, and I had 0 push to passes left, and he had a bunch left. So I was watching the intervals every time I come on the straight, and I noticed he made just a few mistakes, but that happens in racing, and everybody makes mistakes. So it was fun battling with him. I had a good time.
Yeah,
we had fun watching that battle. And,
it was definitely we had a lot of attention on you tonight.
Oh, thank you.
We especially liked your weave down the front stretch.
Oh, the big weave! Yeah, I didn't break the draft. How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, you and Craig were definitely putting on a great fight. I'll say throughout the course of the race, there was a handful of really good fights that were going on, and but you and Craig, I think you guys was kind of the most kind of throughout the course of the whole race. So you guys are pretty much locked onto each other. It felt like most of the way there, but yeah, just awesome job tonight though, Matt, grabbing that second spot here. So definitely want to give you the floor though before we let you go for thanks and shouts for that second place tonight.
Well, I'd like to shout out to Scott Rankin. Actually, he had a pretty fast car. He was just as fast as us. He went off track after the first pit stop, right on cold tires, and just I felt pretty bad for him. He practiced all week, but a big shout out to him. Thanks for hanging in there and joining this league, and I really do appreciate him doing all that. Shout out to HyperX, Area 51M, Segura, Troy Lee Designs, all of them putting on the great show. Man, I'm just having a great time in this league. Things are turning around.
All right.
Yeah, so it seems like things are definitely going the right way these last couple of weeks. So hopefully it continues on, Matt. So yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. Look forward to catching you next week again, sir. Hopefully get another top 3 interview from you.
All right, there, buddy. We'll catch you later.
Great job, Matt.
Yes, sir.
All right, that leaves us one person to talk to, Steve, and that is going to be the number 72 Hot Wheels machine of Eric Schaus. And I don't know, Steve. I mean, we were talking about it during the broadcast. I would say, Eric, you were just in the zone tonight. It just seemed like once you got the lead, I mean, you just checked out. It's like at one point up to over a 20-second lead over those guys behind you. I mean, was that something that you were kind of looking at intervals, or I mean, because it seemed like you just kind of were just zoned in, and it didn't matter what you did. You were just nailing lap after lap throughout the race here tonight.
Yeah, Matt qualified in front of me, so I knew he was going to be quick, and Craig's always quick. There's a couple of guys out there that are always quick. So going into that first turn, Matt giving me the lead right away. From there, it was just see if I can put a gap on those guys, and if I could, then just maintain that gap. So I saw that I could get about 2 seconds on them, and from there, it was just making sure I didn't have any errors, any spins anywhere, and just keeping it clean.
Eric, do you feel bad that you had some push to passes left at the end?
A little bit, but I was so terrified of running out of fuel, I didn't want to use any.
It was great to see you back up there battling up front, and it's been a while. That Hot Wheels car looks amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I mean, you've always been good at road courses, but it just seems like, I know you said after the first season, which you won the championship, or the first season that I broadcast, that you weren't going to be having as much time to practice, and it definitely showed last season and at least the beginning of this season. So I'm wondering, did you put in a lot more practice for this, or did this just really work out?
Yeah, I think I just kind of got lucky. Road Atlanta is, I really don't like this track, to be honest. I hate it, quite frankly. But with the new IR18 tire model, it really is a lot more forgiving. It lets you slip that rear end a little bit more. And with that, I just had the confidence to push harder than I usually do on this track. So I was able to pick up some time that I normally wouldn't have.
Nice. I like when they give you tires that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as like I said, I mean, it just looked like you're just in a different zip code tonight. And like I said, just hitting your mark. So say, I don't know if we ever saw any like semblance of a mistake or an off track throughout the course of the race. So say, if you did, you can keep it to yourself. We'll pretend like it never happened. But I mean, just an awesome job tonight, Eric. Like I said, I mean, just take advantage of, like I said, the good qualifying position, got the track position right off the bat. And then, I mean, the gaps you were pulling, I mean, we were a little nervous about the fuel mileage, just like, can he stretch one of these runs? And then we saw you go, I think it was I can't remember the second or the third run where you stretched it a little extra there. And once we saw that, it's like, yeah, I mean, at this point, he's good to go to the three stopper like everybody else. So, yeah, just all around, man, just awesome job tonight. Like I said, get in the field number when you had to, get in the overall speed to kind of, like I said, build that buffer, build the gap around those guys. Just definitely a great all around race for you tonight.
Yeah, thank you. It was just nice and clean. I was a little worried about fuel, but like you said, that third stint, I tried saving a little bit just to see how much I could save, see how much further I could go. I saw that Craig was able to do an extra lap by saving, so I knew on the final stint, if I really had to, I could save one more lap of fuel, and that's kind of what I did. I was letting those guys catch a little bit, but it was with the intent of fuel saving enough that I could use push to passes or something like that if they caught me.
No, you were definitely spot on with that one tonight. So I say, before we let you go and celebrate and enjoy this one, so I know you've got plenty of people that definitely help you out. I know you got one of the most dedicated supporters as well. So definitely wanted to give you the opportunity here for any thanks and shouts for that win tonight.
Yeah, well, I'll start by thanking you guys. It's good to chat with you again up here in the booth. Other than that, I would thank my wife, but she's given up on watching because she finds it too stressful. So I'll give a shout out to everybody else that supports the league and helps out and watches. And thank you, everybody.
Well, I'll say, tell her we miss her.
She's gonna be sorry she missed this one.
Yep. I'll let her know.
Yeah, definitely give her a little bit of grief. But yeah, just awesome job tonight, Eric. Like I said, just you're definitely, like I said, just on top of the game all night long this evening. So definitely enjoy this one, and say look forward to hopefully seeing you continue on the form that you had tonight, and say obviously lots of pace in that car behind the wheel tonight. So enjoy it, and we'll hopefully catch you next week, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Great to have you back in victory lane.
All right, Steve, that is our race winner in that number 72 of Eric Schaus. But yeah, like you said, man, just overall, just an amazing job by him tonight. Just doing everything he had to do to kind of get the track position. Then from there, just controlled the race the rest of the way. And he said, you mentioned he was nervous about the fuel, saving the push passes. So I think that was exactly what we talked about during that burnout. I think that's all the fuel he had left in that thing. Just ran it dry there at the very end. So really, really good job by him tonight. And just really, I mean, a great result for a lot of these drivers tonight. So it's a very difficult one. Saw a lot of drivers going off track, having some mistakes here and there. But it's still a very, very exciting, eventful race here tonight.
Yep, and that's actually been so typical of road course racing in general, but in this league definitely that a lot of people, especially on a track that has some fairly technical turns like this one does, it does play a factor, and the people who can keep it on the track the most tend to be the ones that get the best finishes.
Yeah, I was saying that you're spot on there, Steve. I was saying that's exactly what it is. You got to be there at the end. You got to keep that car in one piece. Save, ideally, not use that fast repair. But that being said, though, I think drivers gonna be pretty happy to probably get back to kind of the big tracks, have some fun, because next week we are at Homestead, Miami, followed by Michigan. So definitely going to be some wide open, very exciting races coming up. I say definitely looking forward to Michigan. I think that one could be a lot of fun. And then I believe after that's going to be Atlanta will be the regular season finale. That's going to be a new challenge that these drivers haven't had to worry about before. So it'll be fun to see what that very abrasive but fast track at Atlanta can do with these cars.
Yep, that should be a fun one to watch. Definitely. I suspect these next three are going to be just flat out all the way around, and hopefully at least one of them will be multi-groove.
Yeah, so I definitely always hope to see that multi-groove racing. But yeah, I say it's definitely going to be some exciting finishes. I have a feeling in these ones we've seen some pretty good photo finishes before. Hopefully we get a couple more out of those. But Steve, as always, sir, it's a pleasure having you in the booth with me. Looking forward to next week with you. But we get a little bit of time to recoup and recover before next week. But of course, we will be back on Thursday night for the TW Motorsports Truck Series Super Speedway races. And of course, back with Max Speed TV on Sunday and Monday for the Xfinity Super Speedway and the Monday Next Gen Series. So until then, hope you all have a wonderful evening and have a good night. And we'll catch you back on Thursday. Until then, take care.
Night, everybody.